Broadcasting live from SETI Alpha 6 in the Andromeda Galaxy, this is Mr. C.
Well, happy Monday to you. So, Mr. C, wait a minute. Happy Monday? That's an oxymoron, isn't it? No. This is a wonderful Monday for you guys coming up, but for me too, Mr. C. I see you've got your rugby league hat on, you've got your blue shirt on. So do you have an announcement to make about grandson Brayton's grand final game? Yep, they were down 2 tries at halftime, and they came back to win their grand final. So it's kind of like, for their league, the Super Bowl of their league. So Brayton is incredibly happy. So I haven't talked to him yet. I get to talk to him maybe in a few hours to give him a big congratulations. But I did talk to him before the game. So anyway, for starters on this Monday, that's one of the really cool things going down. And then a second rugby kind of celebratory thing. This hat, the Penrith Panthers, is the suburb right beside where my daughter Lisa is, and Brayton is that's the professional rugby team. He is a Penrith Panthers fan. They have won 13 games in a row. 13. So anyway, lots of celebration going on down under. Further celebration because spring is approaching down there, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Now, for you guys personally, I'll tell you a bit more in a little bit about this, but Mr. G and I have hatched a plan, I think, that will cause some enjoyment, interest, curiosity, happiness in 7th grade and 8th grade science. So anyway, but first, all of your do nows, you've got a pile of do nows, a long list. So you've got your LPs out, always, Mr. C, always. You've got your homework in your LP. You see homework up there on the board. I think you 7th graders have, like, if I remember right, you've got pages, I'm just shooting ahead. 7th grade, you've got pages 5 through 7 to read in your textbook, in your science textbook, astronomy, yeah. So hopefully you've got that here. And then you 8th graders, let's see, you're going to read pages 5 through 7 too, and I'll tell you a bit more about your homework in just a while. Now you've got your verse sheet out. So, and on your verse sheet, this week, you're highlighting this verse right here, Psalm 139. Get it straight, Mr. C. There it is, Psalm 139. So highlight Psalm 139 on your verse sheet. Mr. C, are we not going to write John 1 through 3, or Genesis 1:26 anymore? No. In fact, here's what's going to happen. This week, on this week's quiz/test on Friday, it's going to be my discretion now. I'm either going to choose John 1 to 3 for you to write, or along with Psalm 139, 13, and 14, or Genesis 1:26 and their meaning. So what does that mean? Of course, you've got to keep reviewing them. Here is the wonderful Psalm 139, 13, and 14. So you're highlighting it, you're making little notes. I'm going slow so you have time to pull out a highlighter. So, and here's what it says. For you, speaking of God, formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Now, fearfully has the idea, it's another way of saying wonderfully, awesomely. So above fearfully, right there, you'll want to put awesomely, Awesomely. It means you're amazing. You could use that adverb, amazingly made. And then it says, wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. Now remember, your soul is the real you. It's the real you, the invisible person. For you form my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. And above your works, above works, right? Me. It's talking about you. So you and I are the wonderful work being mentioned here that David mentioned in this David psalm. And my soul knows it well. I know this in my very core. Now here's the idea. God gave you your DNA. That's what it means. And your DNA makes you have the physical characteristics you have. So right up above Psalm 139, 13 and 14, I'd like you to write very simply, God gave me my DNA. God gave me my DNA. You're writing that right up above where the verse is found, the reference, Psalm 139, 13 and 14. God gave me my DNA. You are not an accident. You were designed by God. Wait a minute, I thought my mom and dad gave me my DNA. I know, but who planned that you would have the DNA you had? Who made it happen the way he wanted it to? According to this verse, God. God designed you and me. So, for a long time, I've been a person since 30 or so without a lot of hair on my head. But I haven't cared very much, to be honest. You know why? God gave me my DNA. Your DNA gives you all of your physical characteristics. And in my case, my 5'9" height and no hair on top. As I got to be 30 and older, I don't care. God gave me my DNA. He's happy with the way he designed me. Then I'm happy. So, if this is the way he wanted me to look, so my basic appearance, great. So, and when I came to figure that out, I was probably 2021. It took me that long. Took you long enough, Mr. C. Were you a slow learner? I kind of was spiritually about that verse and what it meant. Yeah, I kind of was. But boy, when it got a hold of me, I just go, oh, that's beautiful. So God designed me. So I love it, love it, love it. Anyway, I love that verse. So those verses. So work on them, review them. You'll write Psalm 139, 13 and 14. Now, I'm telling you that's going to be on the test. I've been telling you what's going to be on the test. So if you end up really struggling on the test, here's one of my conclusions. Now, I know it's not always the case, but I think it's a valid conclusion. Scientific method, you know. Maybe you didn't review enough. I'm telling you, you can get an A or B on the test Friday. It's, do you put the time in? Have you? R. So you can get an A or B. And you know on Wednesday and Thursday I'm going to review with you, and I'm going to put up on RenWeb, and I'm going to go over what's on the test. I'm telling you right now, Psalm 139, 13 and 14, John 1, 1-3, or Genesis 1:26, and what they mean. What's the meaning again of Psalm 139, 13 and 14? God gave me my DNA, or AKA, God designed me, my physical appearance. But all of your other qualities too, your personality and the special gifts and talents that you've got, that your DNA causes to happen. It's a God thing. So anyway, there is that. Isn't that cool? So let's see what else. Oh, a few things from the test. So this is from the test. I've asked this question on a number of tests. What are the 2 reasons I guaranteed we're going to get cooler, like we've already started to get? So the long time forecast next week is for lows 80 or below. That's a 10 degree plus cool off. Even out here in Mesa, 78, 79, 80-ish. So big cool off. What are the 2 reasons? Well, you know why I had my favorite model. What are the 2 reasons? Earth's tilt. We've gone from tilted toward the sun to where it's equal now, almost the equinox, and I'll get to that in a minute. So the tilt, so we don't get as direct sunlight, and then the other thing is the second thing, not only the tilt itself, but the revolution around the sun. So the tilt and the revolution around the sun, a number of you put rotation. That's spinning on your axis, on the axis. Rotate, 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 rotate. No. It's revolve. Tilt and revolve. Is that going to be on the test on Friday? Yeah, I'm telling you it is. I'm going to ask you that. So get it right. Revolution, not rotation. So make note of it. So anyway. So have you noticed that I'm constantly giving you clues what's going to be on the upcoming test? Why? Because I want you to do well. I'm not trying to trick you. So when I mention it, make a note in your journal. Use your journal and make note. Now, I want to explain something. This is 2 more tips. These 2 terms are going to be on the test Friday. The first one is, what is the first day of spring or fall called? It's called the equinox. Say it. Say it out loud. Equinox. Say it to your neighbor, either side. Just say it out loud. Go. Equinox. So what is the idea of equinox? You're writing this down if you don't already have this in your journal. Equinox, you're writing it down. E-Q-U-I-N-O-X. E-Q-U-I-N-O-X. Equinox. Equal. So above put equal. Nox is night. And the idea is equal night and by extrapolation day. So you have equal night and equal day light. That's the idea. And that's what happens on the first day of fall and the first day of spring. So on the 22nd, the first official day of fall, the sunrise, sunset time are going to be almost identical. Now that's actually, and here's the second part of this, equinox, equal night, equal day. And then the second thing you're putting in your journal about fall and spring is the equal number of minutes in the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. You know how I did this before? Your fingers are the northern hemisphere and your palm is the southern hemisphere. So same number of minutes of daylight and darkness in each hemisphere. Same. Okay, that's the idea of spring and fall. And that occurs on, and some of you are actually going to write this down. I'm writing this down. And good move, because you're going to see it on Friday. So where does 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness occur? On the equator. Right on the equator on the first day of spring and fall. On the equator. Not exactly here in Phoenix. We have to wait until the 25th and the 26th. I'm not going to ask you that. The 25th and 26th of September to where, listen to this, on the 25th, so what are we looking at? today. What are we looking at? 14th, 15th? So about 10 days from now, the sun's going to come up at 6:18 and set at 6:19. Is that almost the same? Yep. And then on the 26th, it's going to rise, sunrise, at 6:19, and it's going to set at 6:18. Again, almost 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness. That'll be here in Phoenix. By the way, down in Australia, what's happening? What's happening down in Australia? It's the first day of fall for us. 1 week from, I think, tomorrow officially, the first day of fall. So it's going to be the first day of spring in Australia. They're warming up. They're on their way 3 months from now to summer. We're on our way to winter. So anyway, so those two things, equinox, equal night, equal day in your journal. And then on the equator, 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of darkness on the first day of spring and on the first day of fall. Now, you know that I've thrown out there some extra credit things for you. You've got the planet pairs, and we've got that special all this week where you look for, in the morning, Venus and Mars, and then in the evening, high in the southern sky, Venus and Mars in the east and directly overhead for Mars. And then in the south, high in the south, we've got Jupiter and what's trailing, Saturn. Those two planets. So anyway, have a look. Those are in play. And I also threw out Stellarium. So to look at it, and if you spend 10 minutes kind of setting it up for kind of where you live, and you can do that, again, that's worth 10 points. I looked at Stellarium for 10 minutes, parent signature on it, turned it into the basket this week, and then for Venus and Mars as a pair, 10 points, and then for Jupiter and Saturn, 10 points. Now, something kind of cool, Hannah Lopez in period number 1 passed on a tip to me. She said using her phone, she's got an app called SkyChart. Some of you have this app on your phone, or your parents can show you. When you point your phone up in the sky and take a picture, or I think you have to have the camera on, and you point it at an object, it'll tell you what it is, Jupiter or Saturn, or that's the star Antares. So you can use your phone app and do kind of the same thing as Stellarium. And if you want to use that and spend 10 minutes using SkyChart, it's called, maybe the app on your phone, because it might be a different phone plan. They might have another name for it. Talk to your parents about it. Remember, get permission. If you're going out early in the morning or at night, get permission from your parents. Good plan maybe to do it in your backyard. Just saying. Okay, so I've already told you about your homework. Read, 7th graders, read pages 5 to 7. Let me show you. So you're reading pages 5 to 7 in your book. So here are the 2 pages. And then you're writing down here at the bottom. They ask you on pages 6 and 7 to fill in these blank pages using the constellation map that's up there. So read 5 to 7 and fill in these. Actually, there's 4 constellations to fill in. You see those rectangles that you have to fill in? So that's your homework. Read pages 5 to 7, fill in those 2 pages. And then 8th grade, similar situation. Now 7th grade, you're doing the planets. So, my very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas. So I'll teach you that this week. My for Mercury, very Venus, educated Earth, Mother Mars, just Jupiter, serve Saturn, Uranus, 9 Neptune, pizzas for Pluto. Wait a minute, I thought Pluto wasn't a real planet anymore. I'll tell you my opinion. So it's still a planet of sorts. I'll explain it to you. Okay, 8th grade. So you're reading pages 5 through 7. And there's page 5. So it's about cells. And then you're filling out on pages 6 and 7, 8th grade. Your assignment is to read and highlight that and then fill out these rectangles right underneath these scientists. Read about these scientists who did work on microscopes, inventing different versions of the microscope, and they came up with ideas about cells. So fill those 3 in. So that's you, 8th grade. Okay? So, and 8th grade, here are the 3 parts of a cell. We now know that human cells, animal cells, and plant cells are made of 3 basic parts. And plant cells have 1 additional part. So human and animal cells have a membrane. Say that out loud and do this. The outside border of human and animal cells. Membrane. Say it out loud again on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Membrane. And then there's the inside part, kind of jelly-like, and they're little, really complex machines inside this inner part called the cytoplasm. So membrane, cytoplasm. Say cytoplasm. Cytoplasm on the count of 3. Do membrane and cytoplasm. 1, 2, 3. Cell membrane, cytoplasm, and then the center. Membrane, cytoplasm, and the center, what is it? You know what it is. Nucleus. Yep. It's the nucleus right in the center. What's in there? DNA. Your 46 chromosomes. It's what we're studying soon. Cells, genetics. Okay? Heredity, which is awesome, interesting, amazing. So anyway, those 3 parts coming up. You don't have to write them down today. And then I don't want to forget, on Friday, I'm going to have you review really quick this week, and I'm going to ask you about the steps of the scientific method. It's that important. I want you to know it again. So what do you call the question step where you want to find out something? Problem. What do you call the scientific guess step? Hypothesis. What do you call any differences? Starts with V. Variable. And then what do you call the variables that you keep the same? Control variables. Show me on your fingers how many variables are not controlled to make it a solid science experiment. Show me on your fingers. I'm looking, see if you've got it right. Do it for Mr. Gilbert. How many variables is it okay to not control or keep the same? Yeah, 1. Hopefully you had 1 out there. 1 variable not controlled. And then the diary step where you write down what happens to get an answer. That's the data step. Diary. Data. And then the last step, you look at your data and you get an answer. And the answer step is the conclusion. Just kidding. Conclusion. Conclusion. So steps of the scientific method. Be reviewing them. Look them over. So now, the kind of exciting thing that I'm going to try. Okay? Here's the science activity kickoff. Here's what we're going to do. You need your journal out. You need to dedicate 5 pages in your journal to these science activities. Count them. 5. So in your journal, if you will write, if you will do this in your journal, kind of set off 5 pages. And then here's how you're going to do it. On the first page, in the margin, over on the left in the margin, you're going to put A1. And then you're going to skip like 2 lines down and put, or 3 lines, and put, why don't you skip 3 lines? And then put A2, so A2, and then skip 3, 4 lines down again and put A3, and then having 4 or 5 lines left to write on and 3 or 4 lines away from A3, A4. So on the first page you've got A1, A2, A3, and A4. What is this? I'm going to tell you, I think it's going to be cool. I'll explain it in a minute. I will explain it. Okay? We're probably looking at the clock, looking at the timer. You're probably not going to have time until tomorrow and then Wednesday to work on this. But the second page now. Second page, you're going to number the same way, except it's B. Margin, left side. So B1 in the margin. Why don't you skip 4 lines down? B2, skip 4 lines down. B3, skip 4 lines down. B4. So the second page, B1, B2, B3, B4. What is this? I'm going to tell you. So it's cool. Be patient. Okay? Third page. I'll bet it's C1 through 4. It is, same way. C1, skip 4 lines down. C2. Help each other if you're not sure. Mr. Gilbert's wandering around to help you. So raise your hand if you need him to help you a little bit. Set this up in your journal. You're working in your journal. So C1, skip 4. C2, skip 4. C3, skip 4. And then C4. Fourth page. I'll bet it's D as in Delta. It is. Is it D1, skip 4, D2, skip 4, D3, skip 4, and then D4? Yep. D1, D2, D3, D4. What is it? I'm dying to know. I'll tell you. Just a minute. Okay. So you've got 4 pages so far. The A page, the B page, the C page, and the D page. Page 5 now. Page 5, I'll explain what it is. It's going to sound weird. It's WC1. WC1. Skip 4, WC2. Skip 4 lines in the margin, WC3. And then skip 4 lines in WC4. You're going to write answers in each of these. Yeah, but what are they? I'll tell you. Okay, so you've got 5 pages. The A page, A1 through A4. The B page, B1 through B4. The C page, C1 through C4. The D page, D1 through D4. And then the WC page, WC1 through WC4. Okay? Now, if you turn and look at the back of the room, you will see a 3x5 card in the different cubbies in the back of the room. As you look in the back of the room, over on the left, you see an A 3x5 card, identifying the far left cubby section as the A section. And then the B section. And then way on the far right, that's a D section if you can't, I'm sorry, C section. So we've got A, B, C, and then over on the north side of the wall, you should see D. You should see a 3x5 card that's labeled, it's on the cubbies, or I should say on the cupboards. You should see D, and then there are a few places in the back of the room around, starting with, if you look up at the Aussie animals, over on that side. So I think you can see over on the south, you've got WC1, and then kind of on the partitions between the different cubbies in the back of the room, you should see WC2, WC3, WC4, and way over on the north side, there is WC4. Okay? So here's the way it's going to work. So once a week at least, and this all depends on how well you handle it. And this is where Mr. Gilbert and I have talked. It depends on how you handle this science activity situation. How are we going to do it, Mr. C? I have been hoping that there'd be some way to get up out of our seats and do, some kind of science activity in your room, Mr. C. It's going to happen. It'll be up to you how many weeks we keep it going. So you want to really make a great impression on Mr. Gilbert and therefore on me. Okay? Here are the rules of this. In the back of the room, A section, B section, C section, and then D section on the side and the WC sections, you are going to have to answer some questions by looking at some objects or a poster or two. And in your journal, you're going to write down your hypotheses. Your hypotheses. You're going to write down what you think is the best answer to that question I ask in the right spot. A1 in the A1 spot on your A page. Now, here's the way this is going to work. There are some rules. You can't touch anything. If you start touching things, we'll have to shut it down. That's the end of it. Because of COVID, we can't touch stuff. Why not? Hello? Is that a way to transmit viruses? Uh-huh. So you can't touch anything. Don't touch anything. Mr. Gilbert's going to be watching. Don't touch. Just look at the cards. Look at what's beside the card that's going to give you your answers or your hypotheses. Don't touch. Okay? That's one way to shut it down real fast. Touching. Okay? Here's another way. Not paying attention. So I want no more than 3 people in one cubby. No more than 3. And in a lot of cases in the smaller classes, it's going to be 2. So you're going to practice social distancing. Of course you are. Well, we have to be safe. And I checked this out with Mr. Bynum. He said, okay, if you follow my rules and Mr. Gilbert's rules. So he's in the picture as well. He's in the equation, Mr. Bynum. He'll probably come in and watch it happen and check out to see if it's occurring okay and whether we can keep doing it. It's up to you. It's not up to me. It's not up to Mr. Gilbert. It's whether you follow the rules or not. And do you realize 1 or 2 people can mess it up for everybody in a class? Now, period 2, I'm talking to you. You've had some struggles lately, haven't you? Nod your heads. Yeah. Messing around at the wrong time. Yeah. So period 2, get a handle on it. Follow these rules. Do the right thing. Or it'll be shut down and you won't get to do it. And you'll just sit in your seats the whole 35 minutes, 40 minutes. So this is a good opportunity to get the wiggles out. Don't mess it up. Okay? But that goes for all 6 periods. All 6. Okay? So here's the way it works. You're only going to try to answer 2 questions each time we do this. You're going to have about 8 minutes. It may change, might get less, might get a little bit more. We'll see how it goes. So you can't fool around. You've got to get to your section and start working on it right away. Now, the next time we do it, you don't go back to that section. You're going to go to another section, new section. So you're going to have to remember where you were. About 8 minutes, that's it. You're going to write down 2 answers in your journal. And then when you're done, you're going to take your seat and start on your homework. Only half of the class in each period is going to work on these activities. It'll be like on Monday. This week, though, it's Tuesday, Wednesday. So half the class will do it Monday, and then the other half will do it Tuesday. Again, no touching. You can't share answers. Okay? Cannot share answers. So you're working on your own. You're doing your best. You're trying for the best hypothesis you can come up with. You're not fooling around. There's no horseplay. No goofing around. You cannot be with friends. You can't track with friends. Can't do it. You've got to be on your own. You've got to be serious. Serious business. So anyway, that's the way it's going to work. When you've finished writing down the 2 in the A or B or C or D or WC section of your journal, take your seat and work on your homework. That's the way it's going to work. So now, if you have any questions, you can ask Mr. Gilbert about it. He and I will have discussed this already. Now, one last thing. Science activity is kind of a boring title. I'm going to have a contest. And I want you to submit on a weight sheet, name, date, period, upper right-hand corner. Keep doing name, date, period, upper right-hand corner on all assignments. So on your white sheet, if you want to participate, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to put down your title for what you think the science activity should be called. Think of something creative. You're creative. What should I entitle this? Not just science activities. So make your submission short, but creative or cool. Something that's kind of, something people would go, oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So do some thinking about it. So, and if your title is selected, you get an extra homework pass. That's cool. So you get an extra homework pass. And then I'm going to throw in like 3 Jolly Ranchers. Okay, woohoo! So 3 Jolly Ranchers. And anyway, if you're interested, you might not be interested. You might go, Mr. C, that's not enough to persuade me to make my guess. Okay, so I'll review all of this tomorrow. You know what your homework is. It's up on the board. With the remaining time that you have, and you don't have that much time, the few minutes, work on your homework. You know what your homework is. Bring your textbook every day now. Carry it with you every day. Bring it to class every day. So anyway, have a great Monday. I told you it was going to be a cool Monday just because of the announcements that I've dropped on you. So work on your homework. Mr. Gilbert might have an announcement or 2 before he turns you loose. I'll see you on Tuesday. So, adios amigos.